Hey guys, this is going to be our very first video lesson. Today we're going to be talking about lesson 1.8, order of operations. If you have any questions, all you have to do is pause the video and raise your hand and I can come by and help you. Now, you need to follow along, listen to everything I'm saying, and whatever I write down, you write down, just like when we do in class. Now, order of operations are rules to follow when simplifying an expression that contains multiple operations. Now remember, you need to be writing down everything I'm writing down. I'm going to be following along with you and doing note checks throughout this week to see if you're doing it. Now remember, you need to be following along and writing down everything I write down. I'll be doing note checks still to make sure that you're writing down everything that you need to be successful for this lesson. Now, remember what operations are. Operations are adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and, as we just recently learned, exponents. Now, the best way to remember order of operations is something called PEMDAS. Some of you might have heard, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, but PEMDAS is what I like to call it, and it is an acronym that stands for the P, parentheses, and other grouping symbols. So not just parentheses, but brackets, absolute value signs as well. So if you want, what I would do is in this corner, brackets, parentheses, absolute value signs. These are all examples of parentheses and grouping for the letter P. Now, PEMDAS, what it does is it tells us what order to do the operations in. If you don't follow this order, you won't get the right answer. So, E is going to stand for exponents. And as we learned before, certain things like perfect squares have something called a square root, so it's also going to stand for anything that has a radical in it. Remember, a radical is that little square root sign that we use. Now, for M and D, you're going to do M/D. So, M/D means multiplication and division. Now, what's important about this is we do things from left to right. So we're going to go from the left to the right, meaning that if we encounter division first from the left to the right, we're going to do the division first before the multiplication. If we go from left to right and we encounter multiplication first, then we're going to go to division afterwards. Now, the A and the S, I think you can figure out now, probably stands for addition and subtraction. And the same rules apply as multiplication and division. You're going to go from the left to the right, in which whatever you encounter first is the operation you're going to do first. So the first thing I want you to do is let's look at number 1. So I'm going to see, do I have any, we're going to start with P, PEMDAS. So do I have any parentheses? I do, right here. So I need to take care of that first. Your work needs to look exactly like my work. From this point forward, you have to show all of your steps in order to get credit. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a little equal sign. I'm showing you how to show your work for the order of operations and when we evaluate expressions in this class. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the entire expression except for the part that we're dealing with. So 2 is in parentheses, 3 times 2 is 6. Now, left to right, we have to do, there's no exponents, so we don't have to worry about that. Multiplication and division, we have division right here, left to right. So we're going to write 7, and then we're going to do 54 divided by 6. 54 divided by 6 is 9. Now we can do addition and subtraction. 7 plus 9 is 16. Remember, you need to box in or circle your final answer. I need to see these 2 steps in addition to this, just like I've written it, in order for you to get credit. Now I'm going to skip number 2. We're going to circle it. Make sure you circle it. I'm going to be checking your notes. And we're going to move on to number 3. Now, number 3, the first thing I'm looking for is parentheses. So I'm going to go from left to right and see if I see any parentheses. I don't see parentheses, but I do see these absolute value signs. These absolute value signs let me know that I need to deal with them first because they count, if you look back, they count as parentheses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the entire expression again, and I'm just going to evaluate this part. Now, if you recall from the very beginning of this unit, the absolute value of negative 18 is 18. Remember, we're writing everything exactly the same, including there's a subtraction sign here. Remember, that needs to go down to this line as well, because the only thing that we're evaluating is this negative 18 in absolute value brackets. Now I'm going to go to the next line. I don't have any more parentheses, but I do have exponents. So we're going to deal with those first. 9 squared is 81. Now I'm going to rewrite everything else exactly the way it is. I'm only evaluating one thing at a time. Now, left to right. I don't see any multiplication, but I do see division. So, this is important. I'm going to do 81 plus 28 divided by 4, which is 7 minus 18. Now, if you had tried to do 81 plus 28 first, you wouldn't have gotten the same answer, and your answer would be wrong at the end. It's extremely important that you follow the order of operations. Now we're going left to right. We don't have any more multiplication or division, so we have addition and subtraction. 81, left to right, remember whatever comes first. 81 plus 7 is 88 minus 18. 88 minus 18 is 70. I'm going to box my answer in. Remember, I need to see every single step, including your final answer. This allows me, one, to make sure that you understand the order of operations. More than that, you're justifying your answer. Now, I'm going to circle number 4, and we're going to go to number 5. So, PEMDAS, first thing I'm going to check for is parentheses. I've got lots of parentheses, so we're going to deal with that first. Same as before, we go left to right. So, 9 minus 5 is 4. We're going to keep that exponent. We're not going to evaluate it yet. Minus. Now, when we go into parentheses, let's say we have multiple operations just inside the parentheses. Then we start PEMDAS over again inside the parentheses. So left to right, I don't have any more parentheses. I don't have any more exponents. But I do have multiplication. So I'm going to deal with that first. 6 times 2 is 12. Now, I'm going to go to the next step. I'm going to keep this exponent here, and I'm going to finish evaluating these parentheses. 18 minus 12 is 6. So I can get rid of those parentheses now and go to the next step. Now the next thing is E, so exponents. I've got exponents right here. Now remember, 4 cubed is not 4 times 3. It's 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Minus 6. 64 minus 6 is 58. From this point forward, it's important that you have a scientific calculator. If you don't have one, that's fine. You can use one of my purple ones, but it's going to make things like 4 cubed a little bit easier. Now I want you to circle number 6. The only way we get better at these is lots and lots of practice. Now I want you to flip over to the next page. Things are going to get a little crazy here. So, we're going to look at number 7. Now, same thing, we're going to do order of operations. So, PEMDAS. I should see this written all over your papers. I should see this also written all over your quiz so that you don't ever forget. So, P, parentheses. I've got parentheses here. 9 minus 2 is 7. I'm going to leave that square there until I'm ready to deal with it. Absolute value signs count as parentheses, so we're going to do the same thing. 3 minus 17. 3 minus 17 is negative 14 plus 4. You cannot remove the absolute value or the parentheses until you evaluate it completely, and we're only doing one thing at a time. So I'm going to write this 7 squared again. The absolute value of negative 14 is positive 14. However, we have that subtraction sign, so we bring it down, plus 4. We've got all our parentheses taken care of except for our exponent, so we need to deal with that next. 7 squared is 49. We write everything back the way it is. Remember, you need to write down every single step. You're like I want you to be little tiny accountants, be detail oriented. Don't left to right, everything comes down. So now we're going to go, we don't have any multiplication or division. We do have addition and subtraction. We're going to go left to right and do whatever operation comes first. Subtraction comes first. 49 minus 14 is 35 plus 4. Notice I didn't do it all in one step. I'm taking each step one thing at a time. 35 plus 4 is 39. Circle or box in your answer. And you're done. Now I want you to circle number 9, and we're going to look at number 18. I mean number 8. I'm sorry, not 18. 8. Now, remember from earlier, if we look at our notes, radical signs count underneath the exponent or the e in PEMDAS. Just a reminder. Now what we're going to do is deal with parentheses first. So I can't deal with this radical yet because I have parentheses. Multiplication sign. 11 minus 8 is 3. So I'm going to write 3 here. Squared minus 26. Now I can deal with the exponents. Remember, radicals count as exponents, and we do whatever thing comes first, left to right. So the first thing I'm going to do is deal with what's under here. 29 minus 2 squared. Remember, underneath anything, including radicals or in parentheses, PEMDAS starts over. So I'm not going to deal with this first. I'm going to deal with this 2 squared. So 29 minus 4 times 3 squared minus 26. 29 minus 4 is the square root of 25 times 3 squared minus 26. I expect to see every single step that I'm writing. You should have every single step. The square root of 25 is 5 times 3 squared, because we have to get rid of our exponents first, 9 minus 26. Now we need to look for multiplication and division. I see multiplication that comes, so 5 times 9 is 45 minus 26. I don't have any more division or multiplication, so now addition and subtraction. 45 minus 26 is 19. I'm going to box in my answer, and I'm done with number 8. Now I want you to circle number 10. Number 10 is special. Whenever we have a fraction like this, where we have operations on top and operations on the bottom, PEMDAS, we do PEMDAS separately for the numerator and the denominator. We simplify the numerator and the denominator separately, and then we evaluate it as a whole at the end. So what you're going to do is the numerator has exponents, so we're going to deal with that first. 4 squared is 16, or 4 times 4. We just write everything out the exact same way, one step at a time. Now, I'm looking at my numerator. I've got 16 times, remember, we're dealing with the numerator and the denominator separately. I don't have any more exponents or parentheses, so I have looking for multiplication and division next. I have it. Remember, we move left to right, so 16 times 6 is going to be 96 minus 3 times 6, all over 11 minus 25 divided by 5. Now, I keep going. I still have some more multiplication left to do, so I need to deal with that. So 96 minus 3 times 6 is 18, all over 11 minus 25 divided by 5. 96 minus 18 is 78. Write it all over 11 minus 25 divided by 5. Now, I've simplified the numerator. Now I need to deal with the denominator. PEMDAS starts over in the denominator, so 78 divided by, so 11 minus 25 divided by 5. I don't have any parentheses or exponents. I don't see any multiplication left to right, but I do have divisions. So I'm going to deal with that next. 11 minus 25 divided by 5 is 5. Now I can go 78 over 11 minus 5 is 6. Now that my numerator and the denominator are simplified, now I can simplify this. Now if these divide evenly, that's awesome. That gives us 13. If they didn't divide evenly, what I want is a simplified fraction, improper fraction. So box in your answer, and you're done. I want you to circle number 12, and I want you to circle number 14. Now we're going to move on to number 11. So the same thing, we're going to simplify our numerator first and then our denominator. We're going to look for parentheses because we have PEMDAS. Again, I see parentheses, so 2 to the 7th power minus 5 minus 2, because we have to deal with those parentheses. 3, we write the cube, don't forget, plus 3 all over 12 minus 7 times 2. Now, I've got parentheses here, yes, but I've got exponents I need to deal with next. So, what I'm going to do is, you need to get your calculator because you're not going to be able to do this. I mean, you can, it's just going to take you a while. So we're going to do 2.
Good morning, Miss.
So 2 to the 7th power is 128 minus 3 to the 3rd power, 3 little exponent button to the 3rd power. It's going to give me 27. Some of you could probably do that in your head. Plus 3 all over 12 minus 7 times 2. I'm going to go back down to the next step. Remember, your work needs to look exactly like mine. So, we don't have any multiplication and division in the numerator, but we do have addition and subtraction. So we're going to go left to right, and whichever comes first is what we're going to deal with. The first thing that comes first is 128 minus 27, which gives me 101. Plus 3 all over 12 minus 7 times 2. This might seem like a lot of extra work, but what it's doing is it's saving you time from having to go back and figure out where you made a mistake, because we're human, we're not calculators, we're going to miss things, and this makes sure that we don't miss anything. Because what's the point of doing all this work and getting the wrong answer? Because that's what matters, right? That answer. If you don't get that answer, if you don't have all these steps, you're not going to know where you made a mistake. Now, 101 plus 3 is 104, all over 12 minus 7 times 2. So now we've done the numerator, we can deal with the denominator. I don't have any parentheses or exponents in my denominator, but I do have multiplication. So 12 minus, I'm going to keep that, 7 times 2 is 14. Now, remember, we're keeping track of all of our negatives, everything. Left to right. 12 minus 14 is negative 2. Negative 2. Now, I know this can be simplified. 104 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 52. Remember, those same multiplication and division sign rules apply. So negative 52. All right, now, it gets a little ugly. We've got fractions, and that's okay. Order of operations apply. Just take it left to right, one step at a time. No big deal. It looks a little crazy, but it's going to be just fine. So I do see parentheses and I see exponents, so I need to deal with that first. So I'm going to write 1/3 minus 7 over 6 times 9 over 14 plus. Remember, 2/3 squared means 2 squared over 3 squared. 2 squared over 3 squared. So what that means is 1/3 minus 7 over 6 times 9 over 14 plus 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. No big deal. So now I'm just going to rewrite it, move my parentheses. Remember, these parentheses are here just to show you that everything in here is raised to the exponent. That's why we were able to do the exponent even though there's parentheses there. So it's going to be 7 over 6 times 9 over 14 plus 4 over 9. Now, remember, your work should look exactly like mine. If I look over here, I don't have any exponents. I don't have any division, but I do have multiplication. So we're going to go left to right. Minus 7 divided by 6 times that 9 over 14. So we're going to deal with this part first. I'm just going to rewrite it over so you can see what I'm doing. Now remember, keep that subtraction sign. 7 times 9 is 63 over 6 times 14, which is 84, plus 4 over 9. Now all I have left is addition and subtraction, but remember, we need to have a common denominator whenever we're adding and subtracting fractions. Now, the easiest thing to do is going to be to simplify this first, this middle fraction. If I do that, then it's going to, I don't have as many steps to do. So I'm going to go all the way over here. I'm going to do 1/3. 60 minus 63 over 84 simplifies to 3/4. Plus 4/9. Now, remember, like I said, we need to have a common denominator in order to add and subtract. For these, the common denominator, the best way you can do that, remember, list your multiples of 3, 4, and 9. And if you do that, you're going to find out that 3, 4, and 9 have a lowest common multiple of 36. So I'm going to do, remember, whatever we do to the numerator, we have to do the denominator. 3 times 12 gives me 36, so I'm going to multiply the numerator by 12 as well. So 1 times 12 is 12, minus 4 times 9 gives me 36, so I'm going to multiply the numerator by 9 as well. That gives me 27, plus 9 times 4 gives me 36, so I'm going to take the numerator, I'm going to multiply that by 4, and that gives me 16. Now it's nice and easy. Since my denominator is the same, all I have to worry about now is the operations up top. So in my calculator, I would do 12 and you can't really see that, but 12 minus 27 plus 16, because remember, you have to go left to right. That leaves me 1 over 36. I can't simplify that anymore. I box it in and I'm done. Now, your note should look just like mine. What I want you to do now is go back and practice doing the problems that we circled on your own. When you're done, or if you have questions, raise your hand. And I'm going to come by, I'm going to check and initial your work to make sure you're doing everything the way you're supposed to, and answer any questions you have, and then I'm going to initial it when you're done. Remember, your notes need to look exactly like mine for your note check. Also, remember, you can rewind this video, pause it, do whatever you need to if you need to go back and look at stuff. Good luck, guys.